Hey everyone, and welcome to my review of Company of Heroes for the iPad. Yeah, I know, right? So this is being developed by Feral Interactive, a British developer and publisher, who have made a name for themselves porting other developers' titles to Mac since the late 90s. Around 7 years ago, they opened up to porting to other platforms as well, such as Linux, the Nintendo Switch, and obviously to the iPad. The first title ported to Apple's tablet was Rome Total War back in 2016, followed by its expansions, the racing game Grid, and now Company of Heroes. It's available for $14 USD and it's available now on the App Store. Before we get into the details, I want to say I did receive a review copy from Feral Interactive for this video. But this is of course not a paid review and all the opinions are of my own. For reference, I played this on an iPad Pro 10.5 inch that was released in 2017, and if you want to play it for yourself, you'll need to make sure you have a device on this compatibility list. No iPhone or Android support as of yet. Okay, so let's see how one of the best World War II RTSs translates to a touchscreen. I was going away for a work trip the day after I got this review code, so I chucked the iPad in my bag, hopped on a plane, and spent some time playing it while I was away. And here's what I think. Okay, so I'm not going to mess around here. Presentation-wise, Company of Heroes for iPad is about as authentic as it gets. It looks like the PC version, it sounds like the PC version, and it feels like the PC version. This isn't some muted edition of the full game that you'd find with some other mobile ports. Graphically, this holds up very well when compared to the original. But in saying that, this game is nearly 15 years old if you'll remember. I know, I feel old too. So you'll probably notice its age at times here and there, especially in the in-game cutscenes where it's really obvious that we've made a lot of graphical leaps in the last wee while. The audio is somewhat different however, and that holds up really well, age be damned. Company of Heroes has always had a great visceral quality to its audio design, with hard-hitting explosions, sharp machine gun fire, and desperate cries from soldiers across the battlefield.
Get there, damn it! Where's your man? Get going! Eagles exit service! Airborne, under fire! Make it happen!
And if you have an iPad Pro, it sounds especially good, because the speakers on those things are just mwah. Story-wise, it's unchanged, as you can probably guess. You've got access to the full campaign from the original game, but unfortunately not the ones from Opposing Fronts and Tales of Valor. We'll talk a bit more about that little detail in the gameplay section. It's a fairly generic World War II tale, but it's a good time nonetheless, and because of this game's lack of other modes, which again we'll talk about soon, it's not like you're going to have many other things to do to distract you from it. Now this is where it really gets interesting. I'm sure a lot of you were initially skeptical when you heard about this whole thing. Company of Heroes, but on an iPad? RTS games have never had a great time on other platforms, always being most comfortable on their home turf, rather than anywhere else. And I was the same. I've always found playing with a touchscreen to be far less intuitive, more limiting, and just downright confusing at times. So you can imagine my shock when I started playing, and found it really simple. Within a few minutes I was up and running and felt super comfortable with the controls, the layout of the whole thing. All the button mappings make sense, there's multiple options to customize it to your liking, and there's a great tutorial that explains everything for you to boot. Now like I said before, this is no neutered version of the base game. It plays exactly like its PC counterpart, beside the obvious control differences. And once you've got your head around those and memorized with what does what, you'll be right back into the thick of it just like you never left. And despite its age, it still plays really good. Company of Heroes is one of my favourite RTS games, and when you're talking about World War II strategy games, it's almost certainly the best. Its focuses on small-scale action, squad controls, and micromanagement of abilities still scratches an itch that really not many other games have, even today. Now I'm not going to go fully in depth with all the game's mechanics, as I've already covered those fairly recently. If you do want to hear more about them, then go and check out this video over here. Everything I say there applies the same. Well, mostly. There's a bit of an asterisk to Company of Heroes for iPad that we need to talk about, and that's the lack of some features that, frankly, I was surprised to not see included. First off, it's expansion content. As we've covered already, Company of Heroes is getting pretty old in the tooth at this point, and its two expansions, Opposing Fronts and Tales of Valor, which are now 13 and 11 years old respectively, are unexpectedly snubbed from this release. Now, it's not like the devs are misleading in their marketing here. They're not giving an impression that this is a complete collection or anything like that. I'm just taken back a bit that they haven't done just that, because at this point those 2 expansion packs are so core to the game that it just feels weird to not have them. Feral have said that they may look into adding them in the future, so I guess we'll see. It would be really nice if they did so, but it would be unfortunate if they charged extra for them like they did for the expansions for Total War, because here you're already paying $14 for a game that's 1.5 decades old. But if they could include it in a free update, that would be a great move in my opinion. Lastly, and perhaps more egregiously, is the lack of any sort of multiplayer support. Now it's possible that this comes in a future update or patch down the line, but as of right now you're limited to either playing the campaign or skirmish against the computer, and that's it. You can't even play against other people on iPads. Now personally, it's not a huge deal as I'm more partial to the single player side of RTSs, especially if they're going to be on a mobile device, but for some I could really see this being a deal breaker. What I'd love to see is full crossplay and compatibility with the PC version, but I'd be surprised if we were lucky enough to see that. At the very least, getting some multiplayer with other people on iPad would be a good start. All in all, Company of Heroes for iPad is an excellent translation of the classic we all know and love from the PC. It plays great, looks and sounds just how you remember, and is an excellent way to enjoy one of the best RTSs in the last 20 years on the go. Seriously, the novelty of just being able to pull out a tablet on a plane, bus, or while lying in bed and play a game of this caliber is a seriously good one. And while there's definitely some downsides like the lack of expansion content and multiplayer support, what is here is excellently polished, runs great, and delivers on its promise of being the authentic Company of Heroes experience on a touchscreen. The price of $14 USD I think is reasonable too, especially if the aforementioned flaws can be fixed in a future update. Though if those are deal breakers for you, I'd suggest holding off on your purchase until you can get some more information about what's going to happen with them. Otherwise, you're safe to go and pick this one up. It's an excellent port and it fills a niche that really hasn't got much attention. Quality real-time strategy games on a touchscreen on the go. There's a link to the game in the description, just remember to check the compatibility list here on screen to make sure that you can actually run it before you pick it up. Thanks for watching everyone. If you like this video, then I'd encourage you to hit subscribe. I've got some great videos coming up, including reviews of the new Battlestar Galactica Deadlock DLC, Warcraft 3 Reforged, OOF, and the Praetorians HD Remaster, as well as a few others that I can't talk about right now. So hit the button and the bell to be notified the second they go live. And if you'd like to follow me for updates, pop on over to my Twitter, or feel free to join our Discord. I'd love to see you there. Thanks again everyone, and I'll see you all next time.